So how can financial institutions use regulation as a framework for growth? How can they quickly adapt to make the most of new technology? And how should they react to increasing competition in the sector? Well, sometimes it requires substantial transformational change. And that's where Certeco comes in, to help organisations capitalise on the opportunities. Joanna Simpson reports.
We may not realise it from the outside, but internally banks are going through radical change. Behind the scenes, they're looking into how new regulations affect them and how they need to comply. Two new watchdogs have been created, the Prudential Regulation Authority and Financial Conduct Authority. The aim is to drive through a shift in culture by making banks more accountable. Those at the sharp end are relying on companies like Certeco to help them through what can be a challenging process.
I think the reality has hit home now. And of course the new structures that have come in place, the PRA and the FCA, the Twin Peaks, have made it very clear, particularly Martin Wheatley at the FCA, that rules and regulations are not going to do it on their own. You know, the culture word, which we're seeing again and again and again, is what the regulator is now almost demanding.
Here in the city, the changing regulations in the financial sector is having a broad impact. Some banks are still developing their strategy on how they plan to comply. Certeco says this should be viewed as an opportunity rather than a threat. Certeco's strapline is business change that delivers. It says being a small to medium-sized company coupled with its independence is what makes it flexible. It doesn't just work within the financial sector, which gives it a fresh perspective on how change can be introduced more broadly across businesses. The challenges facing banks are no different to what many other industries have gone through in the past. Certeco's USP is that it concentrates solely on being the implementer.
We help people deliver major change. We don't work at the advisory level. You know, there are many organisations out there who help people with their strategy and defining what a strategy is. Once that strategy is defined, though, we find many organisations struggle to implement that and struggle to make the change. And we're very firm about, you know, many organisations need to change the way they do change.
Promontory is one of those organisations which works alongside Certeco. It specialises in regulation and compliance. It works directly with financial services companies and businesses at boardroom level to offer advice and form strategies. It advises banks in particular on how they need to comply with regulations, which it says are often written in fairly broad terms. Certeco then implements those agreed strategies.
Certeco are experts in change. We are experts in regulation. The benefit would be that Certeco can help ensure that change is embedded within the business and within the operations of the organisation, and at the same time the bank can have greater assurance that these changes are going to meet the requirements of the regulator both now but for the future as well.
There are certain complexities within the financial services industry which makes change challenging. The technology is one example where in some cases it's been slow to keep pace with other industries, and a big shift to online 24-hour banking is having an impact.
Whereas the systems that were put in the 1960s and 70s are designed to operate overnight, just to sort of catch up with the account systems when the bank was closed. And it's not closed anymore, so that's a big problem. Whereas in other areas of banking, where you've got, you know, investment banking, for instance, they've always invested heavily in the latest, fastest technology. So they're using, you know, they're down to the speed of light in some of the trading operations. So they've got a different set of problems.
Certeco says a clear programme bespoke to each business can help soften the blow. It says its implementation processes operationalise it, embed it and make it stick. That way any impact of the change felt by banks behind closed doors doesn't touch the customer on the street, who these regulations are ultimately designed to protect.